But Diego's scary. It's not just that he's good, he's fucking scary. He's intense.
Finishes. And from everywhere,
Yeah.
like submissions,
Submissions,
knockouts.
knockouts, and his fucking stand up is horrific.
What is it about Brazil that creates so many legends in the cage? Have you ever noticed how Brazil doesn't just produce fighters, it breeds killers? From Anderson Silva to Jose Aldo, Charles Oliveira to Alex Pereira? Maybe it's the BJJ, maybe it's the culture. Either way, one thing's clear: Diego Lopes is next in line. And by the ways he is winning his fights, he is surely one of those killers from Brazil. He stands at 26-7, with 22 of them being by finish, 10 by knockout, and 12 by submission. This only speaks of how dominant an approach he has, known for his aggressive style, stand up and grappling, never complaining about his next opponent. It is surprising he is not a trash talker, but vice versa, very humble. Or maybe it's because he does not speak English. But either way, in today's video, you will find out a breakdown of his style, how to acquire and become a killer like these Brazilians, even if you can speak English. Breakdown of his style. While I said that Diego is very aggressive and dominant generally, and knowing that he is a black belt in BJJ due to coming from Brazil, his aggressive style does not only limit itself on the ground. While he had a lot of submissions, he has as many knockouts, which only shows that he does not leave his case to judges but ends it as soon as possible. But let's start with stand up. A great example of what it means to not leave the decision to the judges is in the fight with Yusuf, a very dangerous fighter from Nigeria. Both started in orthodox stance, starting slow, feeling each other and the distance. After a few leg kicks by Diego, Yusuf breaks Diego's high guard with a stiff jab. Diego did not wait too long and throws 1 and 2, which Yusuf blocks, and Diego throws a calf kick. Right after, Diego pulls a high guard and Yusuf throws a jab, which Diego slips and throws a left hook to the body, which he misses. But at the same time, Yusuf throws a right low kick and Diego misses a right hook. They end up in a clinch, but not for long. Diego throws a right uppercut followed by a left hook and drops Yusuf. Diego takes his chance and starts with devastating ground and pound. Yusuf tried to get his legs, but Diego got in top control, and after some scramble, they get up in the clinch to the cage, which Diego uses again to throw a right uppercut to the body and an uppercut to the head, and once again drops Yusuf and finishes him in ground and pound. And now you see how Diego has that dominant, aggressive style, but most importantly, finishing instinct. Now we can see on what level his ground game is in the fight against Gavin Tucker. Diego did not even intend to go on the ground, but Tucker goes for the single leg, which he will see was a big mistake. Like I said, Tucker goes for the single and Diego jumps into a triangle, but Diego tries to get both an armbar or triangle and just waits for Tucker to make another mistake. And what we see, Tucker tries to find his hand by getting both hands in to stop the triangle, but Diego focuses on the arm to get the choke successful. But he saw he can get an armbar to make Tucker address, and his reaction is to push the hand even further, which Diego needs to finish the choke. Tucker tries desperately to get up, but that gives Diego the chance to roll Tucker and get a tight armbar to break his arm. But here is where Diego is on another level. When they started rolling, Tucker tapped, but for most fighters, too late. While Tucker was already saying goodbye to his hand, Diego releases the hand while rolling as soon as he feels the tap, not to further break his arm. Amazing. How to train like Diego Lopes. While he comes from Brazil, that means that he was introduced to martial arts from a very young age. While that is a stereotype, in his case, this is very true due to the involvement of his father and brothers. He started jiu-jitsu from the age of 5, and from that age, everybody already saw his competitiveness and how much he cared for the sport. By the age of 7, he was already competing, but it did not take a long time before he started MMA. Later, he moved to Mexico for his MMA career. From his early start of jiu-jitsu, he developed mostly a heavy grappling submission style. From this point, if you want to acquire Diego's style, you will need to find a legit BJJ coach. You can find somebody to coach you one-on-one, or you can find a BJJ gym. Of course, you cannot jump straight into jumping triangles, but you must master the basics first. in which the best fighters are best because they did foundations right and for many times. Study everything from guard play, sweeps, triangles, arm bars, and many more, of course, prioritizing submission chains, and of course, study his early career, in which it will be easier to improve by studying someone who knew less in his career, rather than later, in which he is so skilled that he has the luxury to do something in his own way, which in particular is not the correct way. Now let's talk about stand up. Accordingly, from his training tape, we rarely see him do anything else except boxing. I have seen a couple of his sparrings, and they are MMA, but every time we see his training, as we see in his matches, he has primarily a heavy boxing style. Not too much of kicks or knees, just hands. And what is even more interesting is that somebody would think that he is nothing special in stand up because of the BJJ background, but they would make a huge mistake. If you want to acquire the same style as Diego, you should go back to the gym, back to the coach for hours of mitt work, because this guy cannot be separated from the pads. This not only sharpens your technique, timing, coordination, speed, but even builds combinations that your brain subconsciously remembers as muscle memory from tons of work. So, still to this day, mitt work is one of the best ways to train boxing for peak performance. As we see in all of his fights, his technique is sharp, and when he strikes, they surely get stung. Maybe it's due to his strength and conditioning. Strength and conditioning. What you can see from his footage, you cannot find Diego Lopes doing a single push up, let alone lifting weights. While there is a culture of fighters who rely on strength and conditioning, lifting weights, calisthenics, plyometrics in hope they will endure longer, be more explosive, and be stronger, there are others like Merab who rarely ever lifts, just trains in a sport specific way. Like, if you want to get stronger and endure longer in grappling, you will do hours and hours of jiu-jitsu or wrestling classes. Or if you want to be more explosive, faster, sharper, and endure longer in stand-up, you will do countless hours of sparring, heavy bag, or mitt work. I am not saying that these fighters never lift or that they never did a single push-up. From his physique, I could not say that he acquired this without lifting any weights. While he looks like a fighter, and he has that fighter's physique that I emphasize, and has broad shoulders, but not so much mass in the arms, I can say that he rarely does any lifting, except maybe some pull ups and push ups, which are the base for any athlete. I cannot say what is better, to just train technique specific, or use strength and conditioning when it's time. But judging everything by Diego falling short to Volkanovski, and Alex becoming a champ again, and let me tell you, Volkanovski does strength and conditioning and he does not save on it. Jokes aside, I cannot say was it because of the conditioning or the technical advantage. But Volkanovski did not become a champ accidentally. But if you want to become a beast, you will need to find that balance between mostly technique and strength and conditioning, especially if you are competing. Thank you for watching. If you got value from this, drop a like, share it with someone who needs it, and hit subscribe for more. See you next time.